This morning, I have a word that I want to share with you, and it deals mainly with the church, the house of God. And I want you to know that we still have a church to build. I know we look out right now, and this church is almost completely packed out, but we still have a church to build. The church has grown to what it is today by dedicated men and women reaching out and caring for people as they come into the house of the Lord. But we still have a long ways to go to be the church that God has called us to be. Now, there's an old saying, and I mentioned this probably about 2 weeks ago as well, but there's an old saying that says this: people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I read this as well. He's a motivational speaker, passed away about 20 years ago, but he wrote this. His name is Leo. Last name I can't pronounce, so I won't even try. But he wrote this: too often we underestimate the power of a touch, a smile, a kind word, a listening ear, an honest compliment, or the smallest act of caring, all of which have the potential to turn a life around. You know, just by your greeting this morning, just by you going to that person and shaking their hand, it might have turned their life around. Are you with me? Now, in order to continue building the house of the Lord right here in Bakersfield, it's going to take people that care for people. People that care for people. Now, societies as we know them today, they're built on acceptance. Built on acceptance. Groups, teams, mobs, cliques, movements are groups of people that have been accepted by one another. That's where you get groups of people. They accept you the way you are, and it turns into a team, a mob, a clique, a movement, or whatever it is that you want to call it. Now, Victory Outreach Ministries, it started in 1967 by Pastor Sonny and Sister Julie, accepting people into their home and into their lives. That's how this great movement started. Just by one couple accepting people into their home and lives. Because they cared for others more than themselves, our ministry started in a 2-bedroom apartment in East Los Angeles, but today we've grown into a well-known worldwide ministry. And this is something that is unheard of. A ministry that starts off in the projects, in a 2-bedroom apartment in East Los Angeles, that now is grown into a worldwide ministry. This is something that is uncommon. And the reason why it took place is because people cared for others. Cared for others. Now, the question this morning is, how many of you really want to continue to grow and build our church right here in our beautiful city of Bakersfield? How many of you love your city? Don't you love Bakersfield? Man, people think I'm tripped out. People think that I say it just to say it, but I love Bakersfield. This is my hometown. This is where I grew up. This is where I broke into your house. Probably stole your cassette player out of your car. This is where I met my wife at Heritage Park. You guys know the story. She was asleep on a bench. I offered her just half of my chile verde burrito, and we've been together ever since. Huh? All of our 4 boys were born right here in Bakersfield. I love our city. And with that, I want to continue to be the lighthouse that God has called us to be right here in Bakersfield. Now that's why the Lord placed us in central Bakersfield, so that we can reach out to every area around us. Now, when we talk about church growth, we're actually talking about reaching our unsaved family members, reaching our friends, co-workers, and people in our communities. When we talk about church growth and building the house of God, we're talking about giving people the opportunity of changing their way of life. That's why we were on the streets in the Oki yesterday. That's why we have other evangelism set up around the city of Bakersfield. Why? Because we want to give people the opportunity that was given to us. See, we're saved this morning. You and I are saved this morning. We are set free this morning. We are no longer the same this morning. We're not going to hell anymore. We're on our way to heaven and living a better life while we get there. We've changed, and we want to make sure that every person in our county gets that same opportunity. Now, we also got to recognize and understand that as the church grows and as these seats are filled, then we're actually taking people out of the devil's hands. Do you know that? Say, well, Pastor, why do we spend so much finances on flyers and evangelism? And why do we do this? And why do we do that? Because we're actually taking people out of the devil's hands. Huh? I don't know sometimes if we understand that, or if we realize that the people that are sitting next to us right now, they just came out of the devil's hands. Huh? You see our sister Serena right here. The other day, I forgot who I was talking to. Oh, it was your cousin Raymond. I was talking to her cousin Raymond, and he told me things I didn't know about Serena. We're going to put them up on the screen right now. No, I'm just kidding. But she came from a hectic lifestyle. And you look at Tavito, her husband, came from a hectic lifestyle. I mean, just being from the colonia is hectic. That's where he grew up at. Huh? But you don't realize, like many of you don't even know Brother Ruben from Lamont. Stand up, Ruben. Stand up, bro. When I first met Brother Ruben, he was cutting his lawn. We were passing out flyers. I said, look at that man over there. He has little red shorts on. Little tiny ones. Go and sit down, bro. But many of us don't realize, and some of us look over that, man, you know what? This person just got reached a week ago. A week ago. This person just got reached just 1 month ago. And for some, you don't even realize it, that you might be sitting next to somebody right now. They just got out of prison just a few short weeks ago. Well, I don't want to mention people by name, but we have a guy in our church. He just did 23 years. 23 years straight. You don't got to grab your purse. You'll be all right. Huh? Sometimes we forget. We forget how good God is and all the great things that God has been doing. I think sometimes we forget that. We forget that, man, God is in a miracle working business, and he's using Victory Outreach in a powerful way. And that's why we continue to reach out to those that others just pass by. Because you never know who we're reaching. I see this building too small for us by the end of this year. Huh? I see our 9 a.m. service filled to capacity. I see our 11 a.m. service filled to capacity to where we have to send our homes, our victory homes, back home for our second service. I see our 6 p.m. OT service filled to capacity. I see our life groups having to launch out because they no longer fit in the houses that they're in. I see your unsaved family member here at this altar raising their hand and thanking God for changing their lives. Now, I hope you can see that as well. In order for this to happen, we have to become a church that people feel accepted by. We have to become a church that people feel accepted. See, when they walk in through those front doors, they have to feel accepted. They have to feel like, man, these people, I don't even know them, and they already hugged me like 20 times. I've never shaken so many hands before. And when they come back the next week, they're blown away that you remember their name. We got to become an acceptance church to where people out there, when they leave this building, because understand this, when I talk about the church, I'm not talking about this building. When you think about it, when you say, wow, the church, our church, and we think about this building right here at 220 Eureka Street. But the Bible says that you and I are the church. Huh? That we are the church. You and I are the church. So we want people when they walk through the front doors of this church, and when they leave after service, we want them going to their family, to their friends, to their neighbors, to their uncles, their aunts, their grandma, their grandpa, their co-workers, their children. And we want them to tell them, listen, I found a church that accepted me just the way I am. They didn't look at me different. They didn't react to me different. They accepted me for who I am. We want people to feel accepted when they walk into the house of God. But that's going to take people that have compassion. Compassion. It's going to take a group of people that have compassion. Compassion means this. It means a deep awareness of the suffering of another. It means sympathetic consciousness of others' distress, together with a desire to alleviate it. What that means in simple terms is, man, you see somebody that walks into the church and you notice that they're going through it. You notice that they're having a difficult day, week, month, and you're sympathetic to it. You okay, sister? You're not okay. Okay, not you. I'll try somebody else. No, I'm just kidding. See, that's not compassion. But you would go to somebody, you okay? You're going through it? Okay, I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to pray for you, and I'm going to believe God to do a miracle upon you, your family, your daughter, your grandbaby. And we're going to pray that God will just have his way upon your life. And you know, as a matter of fact, what you're going through, I've been through it. I've been through it. And I thought I wasn't going to be able to get through it or past it, but God did a miracle in my life. And he's going to do the same miracle in your life. I thought we were faking it, but you're real. You're going to start crying. It's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. But listen, can you imagine if our sister walked into the church and nobody recognized that there's something going on? Because a lot of times people like us, we're just like, oh man, she was snotty today. Right? Come on, somebody. Right? Man, how come she looks like that today? She should be happy she has Jesus. But not knowing that there's something going on. And that's compassion. And when people walk into our church and a compassionate person is able to recognize, Lupe, I know who you're married to. You know, I know Rico. I feel for you, but it's going to be okay. Huh? That's called compassion. And if we can turn our church into a compassionate church, can you imagine? Look how far we've come already here in Bakersfield. Can you imagine how much further we can go? If we just learn how to overlook ourselves and concentrate on others? Can you imagine? Every person that we mention, yeah, that's a nice background. Every person that we mention over the pulpit as a first-time visitor, do you know that they'll come back next week? Do you know that? Yesterday I was having breakfast with a few of the guys after the session, and one of the conversations was some of the new people in our church. And one in particular, started coming to our church, and he just walked into the church, and he just felt something different in our church, and he felt the compassion and the love and the acceptance from God's people, that he hasn't stopped coming back, and he's here. He was in the Mighty Men of Valor class. So what I'm saying is, do you know how many names we read off all year long? If we were to be the people that God has called us to be in the area of compassion, every one of those people would come back the next week, and then the following week, and then our 9 o'clock service will be filled to capacity. Our 11 o'clock service will be filled to capacity. Our 6 o'clock service will be filled to capacity. Your life group will be too big that you have to launch someone out from your life group. Why? Because God is always looking for a church that he can add to daily. But we got to be compassionate. Now, most of us, we're just not, by nature, compassionate people, right? We've learned, how to mad dog. Come on, somebody, right? Some of us even got into fights just because the way we look. You see somebody. And then a fight started. Just by looking. Do you guys remember those days? Right? Just like. Think I'm a jokester? Well, why are you laughing? Right? And a fight starts. It just starts. Don't even know the person. Never seen him before. But a fight, and that's how many of us come into the house of God. We're not compassionate. Huh? You ever go up to hug somebody and they're like, right? That's why we have to learn. We got to learn this morning that God's called us to be compassionate. It's okay to break down. You're not walking the yard no more. You don't have to have a certain demeanor no more. It's okay. It's okay to let your guard down. How many walked in with a guard? Don't we all have a guard when we first come to God? Right? Man, I got burned before. I'm not going to get burned again. Right? That's how we are. That's how many of us came into the house like that. But as we've gotten drawn closer to God, God starts dealing with us, and we learn how to be compassionate people. Secondly, we got to learn how to be people that have courtesy. Just courtesy. People that are just straight nice. Courtesy, it means behaved, marked by polished manners or respect for others. It means an act intended to honor our compliments. Being courteous is just being polite to people. And again, I know that, not everybody here, but most of us, we didn't have polished manners growing up, right? We didn't learn that. Now, some of us did. Some of you did. I know that. And you can tell the ones that just grew up with good morals, and it's just natural for them to say thank you, right? Thank you, and please, man, thank you, right? Can I please have some? Can you please go get that for me? But then you have others that they don't mean bad, but they just like, hey, go get that for me. Or you give them something and no thank you, right? But we got to learn that, because I'll tell you why. Yesterday I was talking with the men, and you know that we have a lot of sensitive men in the church. I just call them sensitive soldiers. Because they're soldiers, but they're just sensitive. And sometimes when you talk to somebody that's sensitive, they take it the wrong way. Huh? Right? I'm not going to use you, Omar. Right now, both of you guys are saying, don't use me. I'm not sensitive. Don't use me as an example. I'm not a sensitive soldier. Right? But sometimes there's people in the church that are really, really sensitive. Huh? Really sensitive. And when you don't try to hurt them, but if you're not really, really nice to them, then they take it wrong. Right? Nobody wants to be used for this example. Huh? No, we definitely can't use Eddie, right? We definitely can't use Eddie. He's raising his hand, but we got to learn as a church. Listen, church, because we are on the verge of building a mega church. We are on the verge of taking people out of the devil's hands. And in order to keep it, we have to have courtesy towards God's people. Just learn how to be a little bit nice. Even the women, we got some hardcore women in our church. Huh? They're like, even when I'm preaching, if they don't like it, they're like, I'm like, dang, I didn't mean to hurt you or say something bad to you. And some of them are waiting, but they know I walk this way to my office, and they're like, wait, hey, what'd you mean by that, man? Huh? I know you were talking to me. What's up with that? What did my husband tell you? What? You want to take it outside? What do you mean? Oh, women got to learn how to be courteous too. Because, women get jealous very quickly. We see that in the gang a lot. In the gang. Where's the gang at? Oh, you ain't saying nothing now, huh? As soon as a young gang girl comes in and she's prettier than you are. Huh? Oh, yeah. And it stops our gang from growing. You got a young girl come in, she's prettier than you. Oh, you're like, huh? Right? Be a little bit mean to them. Right? Get a little bit of people to back your play and being mean to them. And then all of a sudden, we don't see them no more. Right? Because we don't have that courtesy that we should have. And that's what we got to learn. And some of the older women are saying, yeah, that's the way the young girls are, but sometimes you're like that too. Huh? A prettier lady comes into the church. Oh, look at those high heels. Oh my God. They don't even match her skirt. They do not match her skirt. Huh? Look at that bag. It's not real. It has a G, but it ain't Gucci. Not Gucci. She got that from the alleys in Los Angeles. Fake glasses. Those ain't real Ray-Bans. Huh? We got to learn how to get past that. Because as we build a mega church, we got to learn how to have polished manners. Come on, somebody. How about camaraderie? The Bible says in Philippians chapter 2, it says, yet I deem it important to send Epaphroditus to you now. He's my brother and my comrade, both in labor and in arms, and is your messenger who has ministered to my needs. 2 Corinthians 8:23 says this, as for Titus, remember that he is a partner with me and is my comrade in my labors for you. Now, comrade, what it means a person who shares one's interests or activity. A fellow soldier. It means a friend, especially one who you have been involved with in difficult and dangerous times. Usually military activities. In other words, people that go to battle with you. See, we need camaraderie within our church. We need comrades in our church. We need men that stand side by side with each other. Women that stand side by side with each other. Couples that stand side by side with each other. Couples that say, listen, I know you're going through it. I know you're facing battles. I know you're going through a difficult season, but I want you to know that I got your back right now, that I have you. I'm here. We're going to face this battle together because we are comrades in arms, and whatever the devil throws at you, listen, I am there to back your play. That's being a comrade. Being somebody that is there when all the dust settles. Huh? That's the kind of guys I like being around. You know, some of us grew up in the neighborhood. Some of us did. You always had that one that ran. Oh, come on, somebody. Right, Jesse? Huh? No, he didn't run. I was just, huh? You always had that one that ran, right? See, in the house of God, we want those ones that are right there when the dust settles. You know, because as we continue this journey of reaching our city and preparing people for their future, we're going to get hit at times. I know everybody's in a good season right now. Maybe you're being, man, this is going good. Your husband ain't acting up. Your wife ain't acting up. Your kids aren't acting up. You got a little bit of finances right now. Some of you are saying, Pastor, that ain't me. That ain't me. My wife is acting up right now. My husband's acting up. I'm still mad at him right now. And this is my second service. There's going to be seasons that we face opposition as a church. As a church. There's going to be a season when you just feel it like, man, the devil's trying everything to stop us from reaching our God-given goal. And we're going to get hit as a church. And I've been through those hits over and over and over and over as we have taken the reins of this church and have built this church and launched out different men to different cities. We've been hit, left and right at times. But I love the ones that are still standing when all the dust settles. They might be beat up. They might be scarred up. They might have a black eye. They might have a hurt foot. They might have a broken arm, but they are still standing. And they're saying, man, whatever the devil does, we are here to build side by side with you. Those are comrades. But you always have those that they show up and their clothes are nice and clean after the battle. That's okay. We love you. We love you. But we still want some camaraderie. I want somebody to back my play. I want somebody to be there when I stumble over a rock. I want somebody to pick me up real quick. Huh? That's what camaraderie is when we're there, we're a fellow soldier. That means when you see somebody that isn't here for church, as soon as you get out of church, you go look for them. You go look for them. And you find them. You tell them, man, what's up? Missed you in church today. Man, church ain't the same when you're not there. Huh? Is there something wrong? Did something happen? Is there anything I can do for you? Man, can I pray for you? Or what's up, That's camaraderie. That's looking out for each other. And the last thing is we need commitment. And not the commitment that we have towards God already and towards leadership and towards our ministry, but commitment to each other. Commitment to each other. Philippians chapter 3, the Message translation, it says this: if any of you have something else in mind, something less than total commitment, God will clear your blurred vision. You'll see it yet. Now that we're on the right track, let's stay on it. Verse 17, stick with me, friends. Keep track of those you see running this same course, headed for the same goal. Keep track of those running the same course. In other words, Paul says, listen, if your brother, your sister that are running the same course that you're running. Keep track of them. If you have friends in the house of God, and you got your brothers in the house of God, and you got your sisters in the house of God, keep track of them. In other words, listen, when you see them going through something, make sure you're there. There needs to be a commitment to one another. You see, and a lot of times, I've been in ministry for a long time now. And people have come and gone from this church. People come, they give their lives to the Lord, they have a little problem, and they leave, they go to another church. And a lot of times I've spoken with them, and, what's wrong? What's up? And you guys okay? And a lot of times they'll say, well, you know what? Nobody even noticed that I've been gone for a whole month. I haven't been in church for a whole month. And nobody's called me. My life group leader hasn't called me. They won't call me until potluck time and tell me what to bring. Huh? And sometimes I'm like, man, it's they have warrant to go somewhere. They feel like there's nobody looking out for them. And Paul was teaching that, man, we got to look out for those that are running the same course that we are. You see them missing, man, you look for them. You see them going through something, you find them. You tell them, man, listen, we're going to go through this, man. I'm gonna pick you up tomorrow. I'm going to pick you up. I'm going to knock on the door. Just know that I'll be at your house. We got church tonight at 6. I'll be at your house at 5:30 to pick you up. I know you're going through it, but we're going to go through it together. We're going to get to that altar tonight. Huh? That's a commitment towards each other. And listen, there's been times in my life, this past 30 years of serving God, there's been times in my life that I needed people in my walk with God. And people have helped me get to the next place that, man, I couldn't get to on my own. It takes commitment to each other. And as we continue to build, man, as we continue to reach our city and continue to build the house of God right here in Bakersfield, we need to learn how to be committed to one another. Just reach out, man. Reach out. Are you with me? Compassion, courtesy, camaraderie, commitment. Now, what stops us from having these things? Well, some of us naturally don't have them, but Romans 12:12 says this. It says, be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer. A lack of prayer produces a lack of compassion. A lack of prayer produces a lack of courtesy. A lack of prayer produces a lack of camaraderie. A lack of prayer produces a lack of commitment. I also want to say this before I get ready to close. Galatians chapter 6 says this. Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. If you sow or practice compassion, courtesy, camaraderie, and commitment to others, we're going to reap compassion, courtesy, camaraderie, and commitment from others. See, when you give it to others, you're going to receive it from others. And if you're still that one, church, listen, man, listen. If you're still the one that says, well, pastor, I don't got no friends in the church. Because I hear this as a pastor, and I always ask people, who's your friends, If you don't have friends in the church, and it's starting to bother you, then you gotta check yourself. Are you being a friend to others? Because the Bible says that God cannot be mocked. A man will only reap what he sows. And if you're sowing compassion, camaraderie, commitment to God's people, if you're sowing these things, you're going to reap them from others. People are going to have compassion on you. People are going to be committed to you. People are going to be going to have courtesy towards you, because we reap what we sow. So if you're still like the old song says, I'm on the outside looking in, right? If you're still that person on the outside looking in, then check yourself. Don't blame others. I don't get invited, right? They don't invite me. Well, find out, between you and God, well, how come? How come? And maybe, possibly, it could be that, maybe you haven't sowed compassion, camaraderie with anyone else. Maybe you just haven't knocked on the door. Hey, let me in. Huh? Come on, let me in, man. I'm tired of being on the outside. Well, okay, I know. What do I got to do? Huh? I'll become a Ram fan. Just let me in. Let me in. I was so mad last week. Stupid field goal. Man. You know what makes it worse is me and my wife, we don't have camaraderie. Not in the area of football. She's a Raider fan. It's Sunday morning service, so I'll be cool. She's a Raider fan, but she's different than I am. I'm a Ram fan. You guys want to visit, right? I'm a Ram fan, right? No visits, Eddie. But I tell you, man, I told you. Anyways, when the Raiders are playing football, they hardly come on station. Nobody wants to watch them. But when they do come out on TV, I root for the Raiders for my wife could win. I don't say, oh yeah, I'm not that, but I'm not like going against her. But when the Rams are playing, she's always for the other team. So what's up with that, man? That field goal happened Thursday night, and yesterday she was trying to show me on TV the field goal. Look, I want to watch it again. What? I don't know how I got to that. Anyways, you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. If you want friendship, sow some friendship. You want camaraderie, be a comrade to somebody. You want people to be have courtesy towards you, have courtesy towards them.